Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for a very special edition of John Crump Live on John Crump News, which is both my channels, even though John Crump Live is over on Rumble, but we're doing it on YouTube today. And we are live. Flying Rich will be joining us in a minute. He is feeding his dogs because, of course, he is. I tell him what time and has to feed his dogs. But hey, that's Rich for you. But still love the dude anyway. Today, we're going to be talking about a few different stories. I've been trying to get all these out, but they just keep on coming. And more, we get hit by more and more stories. So instead of having them pile up and getting bumped over and over again, I decided just to cover all three at one time. So you get three stories for the price of one. The biggest story right now is what happened at the Supreme Court today. If you don't know, I was going to stream it, but just didn't have the chance to. But Hermione was heard in front of the Supreme Court. The case deals with nonviolent marijuana users and the possession of guns. Ali Hamani, who is a Pakistani American in Texas, was busted for having a Glock handgun and using marijuana every other day. He appealed his conviction, stating that it's the law that prevented him from like owning a gun, which says if you're an unlawful user of illicit drugs, including marijuana, you're not allowed to own a gun, is unconstitutional because it fails the Bruin test. The Bruin test states a few different things. The first thing it states is that the plain text has to cover the conduct. Now let's look at the plain text of the Second Amendment and compare it with the Hamadi case. The right to bear arms, in this case, a Glock, is covered by Rich is here. Let me go ahead and add him. All right, Rich, add yourself or something. I don't know. There you go. His conduct is covered, and he is above the age of 18, which is the age of the majority in the United States, which means he is part of the political class, which means he's part of the people. But therefore, his conduct is presumptively constitutional under the Second Amendment. Now, the second step of Bruin goes to the history and tradition of firearms regulations in the United States. And this is where the government tries to say that there's a history and tradition of firearms regulations dealing with intoxicated people, the people using illicit substances. So that was where the government said that they passed the test because that the attorneys for Hermione argued that it fails the Bruin test because there is no historical evidence of people using weed and stuff like that being prohibited people. What happened was it went to the Fifth Circuit Court. The Fifth Circuit Court found for Hermione. The federal government appealed it to the Supreme Court, and oral arguments were heard today. The ACLU joined in the arguments for Hermione. Aaron Murphy, who has argued in front of SCOTUS a few different times, and argued for a lot of different people. She's a pretty big gun rights advocate. She argued for Hermione in the Supreme Court. And I'm not going to get too much into the weeds but it looks like this law is going to be knocked down, and I don't think it's going to be a 6-3 decision. I think it's going to be a 9-0 decision myself.
Really?
The liberal justices,
Are you saying some
including
YouTuber's going to have to create a new thumbnail?
yeah, including no, he already has one for a 9-0. Including Ketanji Brown Jackson, which surprising seems to be very skeptical of this. One of the interesting things, I'm just going to bring up my notes here because I made a bunch of notes during it when I was listening to it, and I went through and listened to it again just to make sure I have all the notes right. Just bear with me. I'm going to bring up my Hermione notes. Okay, so one of the interesting things was that by the United States, Sarah Harris, she's a principal deputy solicitor general, argued for that. One of the interesting things was Gorsuch brought up the drinking of the founding fathers, about like how John Adams drink hard cider daily, and James Madison drank whiskey every night, and he asked them whether the government believed that they should have been disarmed, the founding fathers. Then he also bring like one gummy bear every other night, and he pressed if that's enough to disqualify someone. Amy Coney Barrett also zoomed in saying, hey, if you're banning for marijuana, but the government has no problem with people doing Ambien, Xanax, or even Robitussin, shouldn't that disqualify people? Because if they exceed dosage, then they're unlawful users and they're subject to a lifetime ban. So she was unconvinced of a blanket rule. Sotomayor and Jackson also expressed concerns because the government gave no congressional finding about marijuana being dangerous and people being dangerously impaired with guns. Sotomayor also stressed about historical Druckard laws that required evidence of loss of self-control affecting daily life. So both of them appear to
Robert, I seem to remember the Crump rule on legal decisions.
Yeah. Well, if you can't really get much clearer than this. Roberts questioned whether case by case would dangerously hearing would flood the court. Kagan explored hypotheticals involving hallucinogenics, like a bunch of different ones, like ayahuasca, I guess it's pronounced. Probing whether frequency or functional impairment. So she was like, is it frequency or functional impairments? Yeah. So there you go. There wasn't any vote today, but it looks like the law is going to be struck down. It looks like all the liberal justices are going to vote for it to be struck down. It looks like the majority of conservative justices are, maybe Roberts and Alito. I don't know. Because Alito did say that modern synthetic drugs might suggest a stricter rule might be justified.
That's interesting.
So, but I think we're going to win this. Now, I'm not going to say 100% sure, but sure as hell appeared like it. The federal government had very little to do to push back. They didn't do a good job, but the skepticism coming from the justices was probably putting them into a corner, which they couldn't get rid of. So I believe, in all likelihood, I can't say 100%, but I can say pretty sure that the law, which if you guys don't know what the law is, it is 18 USC 922G Part 3. So if you want to look it up, you can go ahead and look that up. Oh, and Hamani was arrested in 2022. And that was the only thing he was charged with. But he was not intoxicated at the point where they arrested him for having the gun and marijuana. So he was not high or anything like that either. That is a very important thing to bring up. It would have made it a little bit harder if he was intoxicated on marijuana when he was arrested, but he was not intoxicated on marijuana. So it looks like this is going to go through. Okay, so that's what happened today. So this would expunge. If you're convicted, you should be able to get it expunged. I don't know. I mean, if this goes through and the Supreme Court decides the way we think it is, I don't know if the conviction, if you would have to apply or whatnot, but you could definitely go back. I think you would have to challenge it because you were found guilty. So you would have to challenge it. That's my guess, but who knows? I don't think that they're gonna just go ahead and willy-nilly and just wipe out everyone's convictions. I think you're gonna have to file something in the court to get it expunged. Keep forgetting I'm a channel member here also. Thank you, Kurt24. Kurt24 is a great guy. Chris Bullis, I still haven't got your thing out. I am going to get it out. Also, like, it also depends if you were high and you had your drug and you had a gun, then that might change some stuff. You were armed, I don't know.
I don't know that there's specific laws about being intoxicated or under the influence while having a firearm or bearing a firearm or something like that.
Well, there is laws that said you're from the founding era that said you couldn't be, like impaired to the point of not being able to function. So I think that would be a harder thing for them to knock down than a non-impaired person. Platypus 1112 says he's specifically talking about FPS Russia. Yeah, Kyle definitely would be able to go there.
Dude, I didn't even think about that guy.
Yeah, well, there you go. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the second story, unless you have something to add to this one, Rich.
Well, I don't know that FPS Russia would ever go back to the firearms. First off, YouTube Firearms is so unprofitable.
Yeah, but maybe not for going back to firearms, but he's still a prohibited person right now.
Right. Getting his gun rights, sure.
I mean, I would, even if I had no intentions to go back to.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm sorry, I was just thinking about all of the great YouTube videos.
Yeah, but
I want to see a mashup with him and oh gosh, why can't I think of
Carnicon?
Carnicon, yes.
That would be great. Okay, the second one, on Friday, I wrote an article about it, but I did not have a chance to get it out there and make a video because there was a lot of other stuff going on. So, I'm gonna link all my videos on my article. So the first link I'm gonna put is the article on this one. Been busy, man. It's been just crazy, like, stuff breaking. So let's go ahead. Do we have Roberts versus ATF? I'm bringing my notes on this because there's a lot going on.
Which Roberts?
It's a guy named like TJ Roberts. He is actually a Kentucky representative. He is suing. He has a direct constitutional challenge to the National Firearms Act. Basically, this is similar to the other cases. This one involves FPC, SAF, and ASA. And some other ones, the Buckeye Firearms Association, Center for Humanity and Liberty, Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, and Cooper and Kirk, which is a powerhouse attorney firm, is actually doing the representation here.
So ASA is the American Suppressor Association.
Yeah, they're really good group of people. If you don't know, which I'm sure everyone does here, they tried to get suppressors and short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, and AOWs removed from the NFA in Congress due to the parliamentarian. That didn't happen, but they zeroed out tax. Now, here's the thing. According to the Constitution, a tax has to have a revenue generating purpose, and a $0 tax does not have that revenue generating purpose.
You mean like 4 $0 stamps may have some value in the future?
Yeah. So the parliamentarian said that the parliamentarian said that the tax is a byproduct and not the other way around. The issue with her saying that is the courts are not exactly online with that, especially the Supreme Court. There was a case back in the 1930s called United States versus Miller, where the Supreme Court said that the NFA is primarily a tax, and the registration is to help collect the tax and not the other way around. The parliamentarian switched it around and said, no, it's the tax is to help the registration, but the Supreme Court ruled that the registration is to help the tax. So without that tax, it violates the Constitution because it's not revenue generating. The government in the other two cases, because there are two other cases, and that's basically challenging this. One is a GOA back case, and there is another case as well. Brown versus ATF. That's in the Eastern District of Missouri, and Jensen versus ATF, which is the GOA case, which is filed in the Northern District of Texas, everyone's favorite place. So what's going on here is that this is being hit from multiple angles, multiple different circuits. So even if we only get one circuit to rule for us and the other ones rule against us, it creates a circuit split, which can go back into the Supreme Court. So we just need to get one victory, and then we got that circuit split. I'm putting the case in there right now. So what is going on with that is if the courts rule that it is a tax, then it has no revenue generating thing. What the government is basing their argument is saying, yes, we did zero out the tax, so you're right, but there's still a tax, and at the SOT.
Special that's not how it works.
So they're trying to say, hey, it's still, the NFA is still constitutional because we have SOT tax for transfer of these items. Therefore, there's still a tax component to the NFA for SBR. SBS's.
Is the SOT an outgrowth of the NFA?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's what they're arguing. Where the SOT is more of a licensing tax than a transfer tax.
So SOT means special occupational tax. I love when things together mean nothing. And I mean, whatever. But it would seem to me that you're taxing the original, the way the NFA was written, the tax was on the commodity, and that's why you had a tax stamp. And the commodity was an SBR, machine gun, suppressor, fill in the blank.
Well, our side's arguing that point. The federal government's arguing that no, there's still the SOT, which still
But that's like a tertiary item in the chain. That's not the primary item in the chain.
It's not a primary item, and ending transfers or removing SBRs, SBSs, AOWs, and suppressors from the NFA, that does not kill the SOT tax, because there's still a $200 tax, which means that on machine guns and destructive devices. So there is a way around it.
Oof.
You can say, hey, machine guns and destructive devices, so we're not killing off the SOT tax.
Well, but if a suppressor is no longer taxed, then the suppressor should be removed from the NFA.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. And that is the arguments in all three of these cases. The Jensen case, the Brown case, and now the new one, which is Roberts.
Interesting.
So I like the strategy of not putting all our eggs in one basket and just going for Texas. Go for a bunch of them. And let's see what happens. If we get to the Supreme Court, I think we have a great shot at the Supreme Court of getting this overturned. So even if we do lose one, hopefully we win all of them. Hopefully we win all of them, but we'll have to see.
We just got to send Alito and Thomas vitamins.
Yes. So we'll have to see exactly what happens with this. But we're not going to read through it. Usually what we do is we read through it. But, since there are so many stories, we're not going to read through it. The arguments are basically the same. The tax is eliminated. A tax has to have a revenue generating purpose. There's no more tax. Therefore, it's unconstitutional to keep these things on the NFA. And the government's argument in all three cases is, yes, there is still a tax, and that's the SOT tax. Or the SOT, I guess.
But
they're saying the SOT tax is saying tax. Special occupation tax.
Do you get a tax stamp when you get an SOT?
You get a FFL thing. I don't know if you actually get a tax stamp or not, but it's you get a. I think
you mean Crump, you did not have SOT superpowers?
No, I didn't have an SOT superpowers.
Okay. Just the FFL.
Just the FFL. Yeah, you gotta. I was doing when I had my gun service like 2014ish, 2013ish, and it wasn't as big. No, you don't get a stamp. Okay, there you go, Rich. His answer. So that is what's going on, and this is all due to the one big beautiful bill.
So I'm just so disappointed. For the parliamentarian, there were three ways to get around the parliamentarian. One, say, thanks for your opinion. Have a nice day. Two is to say, we don't like you anymore. You're ugly. We're replacing you. And three was J.D. Vance. Sorry for the balloons. Was J.D. Vance to say, yeah, go fish. And all three of the rhino affectees bailed on us. One person that wasn't a rhino could have fixed this.
Yeah, well, John Thune. I mean, he gets, because what people don't understand, the parliamentarian is there to advise.
It's not advise and consent. It's advise.
And
you can say, yep, we heard you. Or we heard what you said. We're doing what we want. Have a nice day.
And Democrats have done that. But the Republicans said, "Oh, we don't want them to do it in the future, even though they've done it in the past."
Again, why? First off, all Democrats are Democrats. Most Republicans are Democrats. And why do the Republicans think like, well, we're going to play by the Marquis of Queensberry rules because we wouldn't want anybody else to not play by the Marquis of Queensberry? Where does that get you? Fight crocodiles like crocodiles. I'm Nietzsche, man.
Yeah, JoJo also brings up the point that J.D. Vance could have done it too.
That's what I said.
Oh,
I said there were 3 ways. One was J.D. Vance.
Yeah. So
he said no soup for you.
Yeah, that did not happen.
Yeah, and of course, my congressman Brian Mast wants to make all semi-automatic firearms illegal. Oh, and he is a Republican. And he used to say he's pro Second Amendment. Want to go shooting with me? To my face.
Yeah, the most anti-gun, one of the most anti-gun politicians in Congress is actually a Republican, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania.
He's Northeast. I don't think that counts.
Yeah. Okay. No. All right. Now we can get to the final story, and this is West Virginia. WVCL sent out an email today, and
all right, so that's West Virginia.
Yeah, their lobbyist is actively working against the machine gun bill. But let me just state that I don't know why he's doing that, if he's going rogue or whatnot. WVCDL talked to Kevin Patrick, who said that they don't have a stance on the bill.
That's interesting.
Yeah, what's really interesting is if you go to and I don't know why, man. I've been a big fan of theirs for forever. I don't know.
So VCDL are like the OGs. Big fan of them.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the West Virginia CDL.
They're around the same, but if you go to, they sent out an email. Sorry, they sent out an email today, and they're like, these are the bills that are currently going through. And SB 1071 was conspicuously absent. So anybody needs to call them up and be like, hey, what is going on with this? But so, well, let's go to their tracking sheet. This is all the gun bills, right? Okay, this is all the gun bills. I'm going to blow this up a little bit. Whoops, wrong one.
Enhance.
All right. Now, if you notice, here's all the HB bills, right? Let's just go down on the Senate bills. You notice that there was a bill missing. They don't list.
Interesting. Ooh, too many choices. It's NRA 86 all over again.
Well, their lobbyist concern, according to closed doors meetings, was that the police might get arrested for transferring machine guns. And people might get hurt, I guess, killed or hurt or whatever for having them if they come back. But here's the thing, right? The way that the bill is worded is the person would still have to go through the NFA and get approval. So if the courts don't approve, if the ATF doesn't approve the transfer, that would set up a court battle, but the machine gun wouldn't be transferred, so the cops wouldn't be breaking the law. Also, if the ATF says this transfer were approved, the cops wouldn't be breaking the law. And then West Virginia, too many choices, brings up amend the bill to have qualified immunity. West Virginia already has qualified immunity. So it just doesn't make any sense. Could
it be that he has some sort of disagreement with how the law would work?
I don't know.
Because here's the thing, and you can argue this a couple of different ways. First off, machine guns were legal until 1986. Now, we also didn't have school shootings like we do today. So if you said, hey, I'd be a little worried about machine guns and school shootings in the future, I would say that would be a valid complaint. Personally, every
Breaking news! Breaking news!
Just got a text. The bill just passed the judiciary as filed.
Wait, which bill? Where? What are we talking about?
The West Virginia machine gun bill.
Whoa!
So it's heading to a floor for a vote.
Wow! All right. So the steps to get machine guns into West Virginia citizens' hands is what? They have to go to a West Virginia government machine gun store?
Yeah, it's ran by the state police.
Okay.
But this is the way it works. So it's not like you're not going to walk in and have machine guns everywhere. And this is kind of cool. You go into the West Virginia Office of Machine Guns, whatever they call it, public safety. I don't know what they call it. I can't remember what they call it. You say, hey, I want a SCAR 17. And they go, okay. And they don't go to the distributor. They order it directly from the manufacturer. So it's actually going to be cheaper.
Interesting.
And then
then what kind? If I said I wanted an M4, what kind of? I mean, is it $1,000? Is it 2, 3, 10?
I don't know the prices of an M4.
That's.
I think it's like a $200 fee on top of that, so they actually make money. Or $250, I believe it. I don't know. The government. Let's see.
Hey, you make $200, sell me a machine gun. I am okay with that.
So the U.S. Army pays $650 per M4.
They're poverty pony pricing.
Yeah, but they buy massive amounts of them. Well, I don't know.
How old does it have to be a curio and relic?
55.
When was the M16 first made?
Okay, so state governments usually pay between $1,000 and $1,500.
Look, if it was $2K and a $200 fee on top of it, I would absolutely.
Ooh, it was $5K and a $200 fee.
And LA Vino Latino says some M16s are now curio and relic.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the price. It's gonna be interesting, but it did.
That's crazy. If it's moving, I'm excited. Better than what the feds have done for us.
$250 surcharge and a $50 fee, which I'll $300 extra bucks on top of that. Instead of paying $50,000 for what transferable one.
I'm buying a double wide on a quarter-acre lot in West Virginia.
And you think we might be joking, but I know someone who's already looking at property to do this if it passes.
Is it a lawyer that's selling?
No.
Or is it you?
You were on the thing where we're looking at it. We're going to buy the cheapest amount of property and build the cheapest house. Not
does it have to be your primary? Do you have to be a primary resident of West Virginia?
Yeah, I don't think so. Just where you store it at.
Oh, you mean it can't leave the state?
Well, it can. You just have to get. Okay. Well, SBRs are exempt from the travel thing. I'm not sure about machine guns. I think you have to get a ATF approval or ATF
Uh-oh.
notification to transfer it over take it over state lines. But who cares? I mean, I'm 45 minutes away. What are they going to do? Stop me every time I cross the border?
Permission slips to let him go out and play. That's a good one.
Yeah. So right now, it has passed the judiciary and it's headed to the floor. So let's get this thing across the finish line.
That's pretty exciting.
It's very exciting.
So what's Florida doing?
Who cares?
I care.
Florida's Florida. You guys have a rhino problem. We have a Democrat problem. We have a rhino problem, which is probably just as bad.
How can we be out Florida'd by West Virginia?
I don't know. But we're going to have to see what happens. But this is a good deal. It's moving to the Senate floor for a vote. And I think we might have the votes.
Cool.
All right. I will say this. I do know of there's at least 3 other states that are considering this. I know one for sure. I'm not going to name them because I'm not going to tip hands anywhere. But yeah, there's 3 other states considering.
And it's not California. California isn't one of them.
No, it's not California.
I don't know.
There will be in
Alaska
South
should
Dakota
go
in
for it.
like a week and a half.
I don't,
I think he's done with the cold.
I haven't asked him about, he was in town, meaning Florida. I didn't see him, but he did look at some properties. I didn't ask him what he thought. Like we talked numbers on stuff, but we didn't talk like, I liked it, I want to buy.
Okay, let me just do an update on Virginia, then I get out of here.
Okay.
Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 anti-gun bills are heading to the governor's desk, and 1 pro-gun bill is heading to the governor's desk. Okay, so these are the bills that are headed to the governor's desk. HB 93, which requires a person with a protective order against them, or a person with domestic violence convictions to surrender or sell or turn in over all their guns to someone 21 and older who does not live with them. Well, that has passed and heading to the governor's desk. HB 101, which is a pro-gun bill, it eliminates the requirements for handgun permits be requested in writing, allowing other methods to apply. So basically, they're going to allow you to apply online. HB 160, the boyfriend loophole, which, if you're dating someone who's a prohibited person, that takes away your right to purchase, possess, or transport firearms.
Wow.
Yeah. HB 20626 restricts firearms at public institutions of higher education by requiring such firearms be part of an additional authorized program or activity inside a building. HB 702, this was introduced by Delegate Cole, and it creates a firearms give back or buyback program. So it would be like cops would take firearms and destroy them, and they would have to destroy them. They couldn't sell them.
No.
HB 909, it changes right now. You can't carry a firearm within 40 feet of a polling place. This changes it to 100 feet.
And how do they know?
I don't know.
How many polling place shootings have there been? I mean, is that a popular shoot 'em up?
I've never heard of one. HB 1071, unless you wear a shirt that says property of valor, but maybe. HB 1071 which is not the West Virginia HB 1071 or SB 1027, 1071.
Oh, can I interrupt you here? This is a great comment. Live Life has said something I've said a lot of times. So by making a polling place more illegal to carry closer to, it's trying to make more target-rich environments with no protection.
It's just another law I'm going to ignore. Like all the old laws that they passed, I ignored. I don't know. I'm open about it. What are you going to do? Nothing. HB 1071, which is Delegate Laffner, requires training on how to use red flag laws and threat assessments to public elementary, secondary schools, and public institutions of higher education. So it's basically teaching teachers how to red flag students and their parents.
Whoa! Wow. I don't know if that's worse than having the FBI look into you at a school board meeting, or
Yeah, that happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, that is, I said I was going to give you 3, but I guess I gave you 4, and I guess that's it.
Ready, Crumpy?
We're gonna lock and roll and get out of here. Thank you so much for watching. If you're in West Virginia, make sure you call your senators, representatives, whoever, and get them to pass this bill. We already have commitment from the governor of West Virginia himself. And last time I called him Jim Justice, and I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's Buford T. Justice.
No, it's Patrick Morrissey. Jim Justice was the old one. I don't know why I said that. So Patrick Morrissey says that he is willing and looking forward to signing it.
Okay.
So Tom Willis did introduce it, who was the Senate president. So yeah, we're gonna have to see what exactly happens on this. But you can call him. Just call him and just be like, hey, fight for this bill. And the number is 304 357 7800. 304 357 7800. Especially if you're in West Virginia. But we're gonna get out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Or whenever I see you guys. I don't know. Oh, by the way, my son won the Pinewood Derby.
Oh, cool. We got photos or what?
Yeah, I don't have him on loaded up the computer, but he was first out of 59.
Nice. Did Dad help at all, or did his son whittle it with his Boy Scout pocket knife?
No, I helped. I helped do the CAD design to figure out like virtual wind tunnels and stuff.
Really? Oh, cool.
So use my technology. Hi, Mama Hoffman. How you doing?
Mama Hoffman, how's it going?
With that, we're out of here. Thank you so much.